All right. You ready?
Yep.
Shit, 3D. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Complete Game with Kurt and Garrett Schilling. What's up, G?
What's going on, everybody?
Episode 23 on the way. We're going to jump. We're gonna stick with the draft, but Garrett, kick us off and kind of take us around latest football.
Yep. I just wanted to do a run around the mill real quick because we're about a month out from when we last talked about predictions, season predictions. So just some interesting things. We talked a lot about run differential, and I had been talking to you before the show about there is one division in baseball with four teams with a positive run differential, which a lot of those teams are hovering around five, so it could change day to day. But
Right.
you had said the NL West, I feel like.
My guess was the NLS was earlier. That was 4 of the 5 teams except Colorado.
Yeah, I feel like most people would say that too, and it's actually surprising the NL Central. And a lot of these divisions are three, four-team competitive divisions still 2.5 months into
Yeah,
the
you
year.
could
So
see there's a chance of a division taking 3 playoff teams.
yeah,
Playoff teams, which
or two divisions taking
right,
three, which
right,
is
right.
cool, crazy, good parity going on so far. 2.5 months in. I also wanted to touch quickly because the Panthers pushed to the Stanley Cup Finals. Since we did talk about our Cup predictions, which I think are both completely out by now.
Yeah.
Just quickly, we won't record again until it's a final, but it's looking like Oilers Panthers. Who do you got?
Oh, well, I have Edmonton in my hockey pool, so I'm going to go. I have Edmonton winning it all.
Okay, I would love to see that. So, and then just one more quick question because I know you had mentioned Tito in Cincinnati. Right now, fourth in the NL Central, but with a run differential of plus 32, with one game under 500. Just talk a little bit about the job he's doing.
Yeah. So everyone's talking about AJ Hinch in Detroit, rightly so. The Cubs, a couple different teams, but I think that under the radar, and that if you're looking for a team to maybe throw a prop bet on that isn't at the top of the standings, the Reds would be, I think, a very good bet. I think that plus run differential being a game under 500 tells you that they're either their bullpens moving a lot of late games or losing a lot of late games, or they're not having any luck. Because that run differential translates should be a better record than that, and I can see that writing itself with Hunter Green throwing the way he's throwing, and just knowing Tito, that would be a team I wouldn't be shocked to see playing meaningful September games.
Yep. All right, cool. I just wanted to get that thought before I kicked it to you for the draft talk.
Yep. So we left off last time. We talked about the top 6 pitching prospects: Seth Hernandez, Jamie Arnold, Tyson Witherspoon, Kate Anderson, Liam Doyle, and Cruz Schoolcraft. And those were the top. Those guys are ranked in that order: 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11 overall, are as pitchers, or as prospects. I'm sorry. Hernandez and Arnold are the second, third ranked. Witherspoon 8, 9, 10, 11 to Schoolcraft. So far, of all those arms, Schoolcraft has probably got me the most excited from a current physical makeup. 6'8" lefty, 229, high school kid, just 18, but probably just as importantly as the upside. There's no reason you're not looking at a potential. And I use this comparison very loosely because anytime you compare somebody to a great player, but physically you're looking at a potential Randy Johnson type guy. When you watch his video, and again, we're going to see something. I wanted to, along those lines, mention this. So we're going to talk about the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th ranked prospects today. Tyler Bremnar, J.B. Middleton, Jack Bauer, Riley Quick, one high school arm in Bauer. But one of the things, and it sounds like a broken record, I know, but it's become obvious, blatantly obvious as you look at these videos, that there's a generation of pitching being raised, being taught, so to speak, to throw harder, period. They're not being taught to pitch. They're being taught to throw really, really hard. And that's, I'm going to say, factor number one at the top of the list of why you're seeing so many arm injuries. We just had another guy, a Blanco for the Houston, out for the year, Tommy John, kind of a max effort guy. But it does sound like a broken record, but something's going to have to jump in and fix it in the baseball, because if it doesn't get fixed, you're going to. And what this really feels like is almost like an economy where I'm going to use it till it breaks and then buy a new one, as opposed to building something for long-term value. And I'm not so sure that that's the approach they're after, but that's the approach that it has with pitching today. And I don't think it's good for any of these guys that we're talking about. But you're going to see, and I've said it before, you're going to see and you know what? Let me break out the white. I just want to show you guys real quick what I mean. And you guys have heard me talk about it, but I want you guys to be able to see it as it's happening, so you can, but what we look for in a pitcher so I'm looking from behind the mound at a pitcher, and that's and this is the rubber, and home plate is down here, right? And then you go that way, right? So I'm looking for these guys to so the home plate is down there. What you're looking for is when they let go of the baseball and when they're at the bottom of their delivery, you want to see their legs right here, but you don't want to see their number on their back, right? You want them to almost be flat, and you want to see the arm extended towards home plate and all those things. And what you're seeing is legs here, they're standing straight up, and this leg is kicked out this way because they're throwing with max effort. And every single video, and I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to start with Tyler Bremnar, 6'2", 190 pounds, 21-year-old out of UC Santa Barbara. And let me start there. So first off, this is warming up, right? And if you remember, if you watch the Cruise, the Schoolcraft video, how effortless he was in his warm-ups at 90, 91, 92. Here you're seeing a guy who, not as hard, and I don't really care about the velocity from warm-ups other than to get a feel for effort and delivery. But look at see the stand-up and the leg whip here. Yeah. There, and I say that in a negative tone, and what I mean is there's just so much left. He is missing so much command and so many other things. And he's quick. I'd like to slow that down a little bit. But again, you're talking about 21 years old, so all of it's fixable, and none of it's jaw dropping. But look at the straight up delivery, right? I mean, and again, this is warm ups. So warm-ups, you should be seeing the free and easy stuff, but now watch what happens. See the stand-up? That's just and the fastball that wasn't even close. So fastball mid-90s, up in the zone, down the middle. Right, change up, good pitch. So he's got a feel for other stuff, which is nice. That's always really good. But again, if you look at the target, catcher sets up there, he throws it in, change up, good pitch. But like I said, I'd like to slow the leg kick down a little bit. 97. So yeah, change up, giving him a chance, the hitter a chance. Yeah, so there's work to be done there. Low to mid-90s fastball, but again, you're talking about a max effort guy, and he doesn't have to be. He can throw that same stuff with better command if his mechanics change. So JB Middleton's going to be next, and that's this guy right here. Southern Mississippi, 6 foot, 178 pound, 21-year-old right-hander. And you can see from the image right there, that's a finish. Right? See the stand up. Yeah. There it is again. Uh, Clearly plus stuff. Yep, same thing. I'd like that. I like the arm angle. Good tight breaking ball right there. I'd like to see him slow down, but again, that's all the stuff you do when you get them into rookie ball and whatever, and increase command. But this is another guy who good breaking ball right there. So he's got a feel for 3 pitches. But again, look at that, straight up and down. And there's no reason for him to change. He's having success so far, so that's the hard part. Um, and then you hear people talk and experts, so and quote unquote, talk about polish. None of these guys are polished, not even close. But that's not a bad thing. They're not supposed to be, and I've repeatedly said that over and over again. But look at again, same thing. And that's actually kind of a good pitch right there. Look at it. So when you don't finish your breaking ball, um, look at where the catcher's reaching as opposed to where the catcher's set up, right? Watch. All right, catcher sets up right here, right, for a breaking ball. And if you don't reach out, extend, and finish your breaking ball, a lot of times what you do, it leaks and it stays back over the middle of the plate. See that ball's right down the middle. But when you're throwing the ball 95, 96, you get away with that stuff in high school and college. Just again, big arm, nice body, nice build. But what you'd expect to see, there's another breaking ball with same example like this said. See that ball's ended up way over here when it should have been out here, but you can't get the ball out here when you don't extend and finish. So anyway, so that's JB Middleton, another big arm, good body, but and the reason that I keep harping on this is these guys, from a max effort perspective, that's every pitch. And if you use and the mechanical thing, I guess the best way to explain it is guys that have mechanics like this are driving a car 96 miles an hour and slamming on the brakes, as opposed to driving a car 95 miles an hour and coasting to a stop. That's the difference in physical exertion and effort in the delivery. And so anyway, that's JB Middleton. This next kid, Jack Bauer, not the TV star, and look at this picture in and of that's his finish. So lefty, 6'3", 190, apparently hit 102, 101.8, which is awesome. Good extension, leg, but look at So there's nothing about that's an unfinished delivery. Standing straight up, getting no extension. Yeah, and this is part of the that little exercise you see him doing, the medicine ball thing, is one of the new plyometric exercises that they do for explosion and all the things that go off that. But and while it, in the context of throwing a nice little breaking ball, but there's a lot of work to do here, and that's again, there should be a lot of work to do. You're talking about an 18-year-old kid, and there should be a lot of work to do. But there you go, right there. Look at that. Everything is, you saw that, I drew that. So if you think about it, this image here is the doorway, right? I don't want any body parts out of it. But if you're going to draft him and he's going to look this way in 4 years, don't draft him. You're not doing him any favors. Right now, he's a thrower, which again, at high school, that's fine. But that's what you have your coaches for. This kid has to get hands on, and you smooth the delivery, slow it down, and you you harp on emphasizing. See, there's no extension there, none. That's all just max effort, throwing as hard as I can, and crossing my fingers the ball's going to go in the area I want it to go. And so, all right, that was Jack Bauer, and then the last guy for this episode is a guy who probably should be wearing an Alabama football uniform. Riley Quick, 6'6", 255-pound right-hander. So the only, and I had mentioned early on, the only thing I don't worry about it, but the weight thing is gonna be something. He's a monstrous kid, which you love. He's got a big body, great, you know. But look at there's our finish right there. So, right, max effort guy again. NFL right tackle going to throw for. I mean, it's funny to listen to. Obviously, a good teammate playing in a great program, which you love. You know he's going to be taught some of the things, but again, uh, not from a finish perspective, a pitch perspective. There's a lot. There's nothing about this that's polished. And again, that's not a bad thing. I want to keep emphasizing that. I don't expect to find polished pitchers in college, and I expect to see throwers. I just didn't expect to see every single guy doing the same things. And it's pervasive, and it's not good. It's not good for baseball, and it's not good for the long-term health. And if you're going to draft these kids and you're going to want a 15, 20-year career, you're going to have to make some changes immediately. And just a beast of a guy. Nothing not to love physically, obviously well put together. But from a polished perspective, like I said, it's what you're supposed to do if you're going to draft these kids in the first round. Most of these kids will be first round picks. I think you have to do it in a program that is readdressing the pitching climate, because the one that exists in Major League Baseball now is not conducive to health for pitchers. And so, and if any of you young guys out there are watching this and you want some help, I'm here for free before the draft. I'm in Tennessee, and I'd certainly be more than okay going through a couple of bullpens with you. So anyway, that is number 4. And again, we're down. So what you had right there was the 7th, 8th, and 9th and 10th ranked pitching prospects. Overall, Bremnar was 17, Quick is 33. And we'll get back to how I feel about ranking these guys. But I'm going to tell you right now, I draft all of them. But if I had to pick one in the first round, so far I'm sticking with my 6'8" lefty out of high school and Crew Schoolcraft, because I think that given all these other guys, but again, if you have the right pitching program in place and the right teaching being done, I'll take any of them. Johnny Padres always used to tell me, give me an arm, I'll make a pitcher, and that's exactly how I feel. I can take any one of these arms, and in a brief period of time, get them mechanically healthier and long-term. So, all right, G, I know you were hanging out there. Hopefully I didn't bore you.
No, you're good.
But let's...
That's why I go back and have to watch with the video, though, because like you all should be, if you're just listening, you need to watch the video. It makes a lot more sense and has a lot more context. But yeah, we got a question for you and I guess your teammate if you're ready.
Yep.
Quick question. Going off our evaluation talk the last couple of weeks, what do you look for in evaluating players' fielding ability? Obviously, from a pitching perspective. Yeah.
Athleticism. It's something that you know it when you see it. Gary, do you remember when you were 13, our shortstop, Polak, Scott, was it?
Mark Polak.
Mark Polak.
Shout out Mark Polak.
Right. You remember him?
What a pull. Yeah, of course I do.
I knew the second I saw him, he was an athlete. watch them take one ground ball. There's just you just know when you see things.
Even if they're not like perennial all-star
Yes.
professional athletes, there are kids that like there was another one that Mark was a kid that went to a different school that played on a travel team with me.
Right.
But Johnny Zimmerman was a kid just a
was
natural athlete. Shout out Johnny Zimmerman.
Right.
But yeah, just frustrating. Yeah. So that's what you look for.
You look at them and you know, and you know, that's where I think it's imperative when you're a high school coach or a little league coach. You know, like I said, when I was 15, I was playing summer baseball, little league in Arizona. We played during the summer, and we had long seasons and all things. Dave Zoll, my 15-year-old little league coach, made me stay after practice and work extra, and I was proud but mad. Like, why do I have, you know? And he kept saying, someday this will pay. But he saw it. I didn't see it. My dad saw it. I never saw it. I never, you know, it was just what I did. And it's immediately identified. For defensive players, you look for, obviously, footwork. And let's talk defensive players at different positions, right? Where do they say defensively you win a pennant where? Up the middle, right? Your three most important defensive positions are right up the middle. Catcher, shortstop, center field. I want my catcher, you know, contrary to popular belief, when I'm looking at a defensive catcher, I don't want a 6'6" kid. I want the opposite. I want a Pudge Rodriguez. I want a 6 foot, 6'1", maybe 6'2", lithe, limber, athletic, because that job beats you down. And you remember Craig Biggio. So I come to the big leagues with Houston. Craig was a catcher at the time. And he was a catcher because that's what he did at St. John's. And he was way ahead of his time offensively. But he eventually moved to second base and the outfield. He was such a great athlete that they knew part of his weapons package was speed. And so they took him out, and he was an athletic guy enough to be. He's a Hall of Famer. He played 3 different positions, and he was good at all 3 of them.
Yeah.
You know, things. I'll tell you what you don't see, like when you think about first baseman, Mark Grace, Rico Bronya. Those guys were athletes. A lot of people remember they tried to move Piazza to first base at the end of his career. It's not an easy position to play, and you have a huge leg up if your first baseman's an athlete. Rico Bronya was the best defensive first baseman I ever saw. Up the middle, shortstop. You see, where did all the best athletes growing up play? They played shortstop and they pitched, right? Mm-hmm. Which it's not a mistake because shortstop has to cover more ground than any position in the field. So you're either Cal Ripken, who didn't have outstanding foot speed, but he was a mental giant when it came to baseball. He positioned himself right. Combine that with athletic ability, you got a Gold Glover. Now, freak of nature. Scott Rowland at third base had range at a position you don't have range at. Third base is a reactionary position, right? The ball's on top of you. That's what you play. You know, the ball's on you immediately. To have range at third base is Brooks Robinson, Craig Nettles, like Mike Schmidt, right? And Scotty, Brooks Robinson and Schmidt, he said Scott Rowland was the best third baseman they ever saw. Scott had range at a position no one else had range at. And then center field, it's obvious, right? We talked about the Rockies and their outfield, how I need guys that can run. Well, I also need guys, and you'd be amazed, I didn't know this until early in my career. Outfielders have a preference. They're either more comfortable going back on a ball or more comfortable coming in on a ball.
That makes sense.
Right? And it does make sense. That's one of those things that I don't think enough. That's not a sabermetric stat. Right? But that's something. If I'm drafting and I'm in Fenway and I'm drafting a future left fielder, do I need to be concerned about how he goes back on a ball? No. The monster's there. He can play at the wall. If I got a left fielder who can come in on a ball much better than he goes back, then that left fielder is going to be an advantage to him. Now, I got to play in other ballparks, but point being, 81 of my, build your team around your playing surface. If I'm in Boston, I'm drafting a right fielder, I need somebody who can cover some ground. And obviously, you need somebody with an arm. Dwight Evans being a great Trot Nixon was a great, And then in center field, I need a guy who can roam much. Probably need him to be better going to his left than right. But those are the little things for me that aren't sabermetrically.
It's probably one of the biggest disservices that Moneyball has done to this generation of baseball fans, because the question and answer, this question about fielding, is so important, especially when you think about like your team in 04. Like, people harp around the Nomar trade and oh my God, how could that have happened? But you look at what you guys got from it and the fielding and defensive.
We don't make that trade, we don't win the World Series.
Exactly, and it's like you were just saying, sabermetrically, Moneyball style. Like people view first base as a like
put the fat guy there,
or the guy who what's his name in Scott Hatterberg, Christian Hattenberg,
yeah, Scott Hatterberg,
who Chris Pratt plays in the movie as a guy who basically can't play baseball anymore. But yeah, just stick him at first, which does a disservice to how important all those positions in fielding as a whole are. So
well, and like I said, sabermetrics. I'm starting to get energized by some of the defensive metrics because I think it's such a hard thing to quantify. But I do know what I see, and when what I see matches what I read about sabermetrics, I like the stat, right? And a great example, and you have to understand and take this in the vein it's intended. Derek Jeter was one of the 10 best shortstops that ever lived. Derek Jeter was never an outstanding defensive shortstop, never. And you knew when you were watching that he didn't have the range of Omar Vizquel or the smoothness of those guys.
Jeter was a max effort guy. Like
but right.
That's where he gets a lot of that defensive shine from, going into the stands and that kind of shit.
The flip.
Yeah, the flip. Like that positionally he was sound. He was like you were just saying about.
He had an enormous baseball IQ.
Like you were just saying about Cal. Humongous baseball IQ, knew where to be.
Yep. But the defensive metrics deny. He was one of the worst defensive metrics. And again, I'm talking about a Hall of Fame. He's one of the worst Hall of Famers. Oh, what a horrible list to be on. But he won Gold Gloves at a time when the Gold Glove. I watched people vote on the Gold Glove by managers and coaches vote on the Gold Glove. I can remember early in my career, coaches would hand it to the clubhouse guys. Hey, dude, fill that out for me. That's how Rafael Palmeiro wins the Gold Glove at first base, despite the fact he played 10 games the entire season there. So defensively, athletic ability, and that probably was a long way from the question, but I thought that was a conversation to have.
All right, you ready to guess the teammate?
Guess the teammate.
All right, 5 questions. If you've been here, you know it by now. We got one teammate, former teammate of my dad's. 5 questions going from vague to very obvious. All right, start with a 10-point question. 10-year MLB career. I was a bit of a journeyman playing for 7 different clubs.
I feel like we're going to have to adjust our 10-point clue, all right? Because I'm never, ever going – I played with so many guys that I feel like I need at least a league.
I always have an ancillary little bit, too. Would you like the end all? Because sometimes I fear with giving – from Massachusetts. So – But that's burned me on council.
Right, that's too much. But I don't
see. But there's some like that. This is a 10-year career, so
right.
The window of time wasn't long enough for you to be like, oh yeah, he's from.
Right.
That's why I felt comfortable putting it in there. But again,
all right, next.
Despite hot starts for 3 separate clubs, I was never considered a year-to-year starter.
Craig Counsell played more than 10 years.
You already did Craig Counsell.
Right.
That's why I was using him as the example for why I didn't want to say Massachusetts at first. Because a lot of the stuff that I write and then sometimes I omit is okay, reading that out loud feels like, oh, of course I would get that.
Right.
Once you read 6 or 4.
Right. I got nothing.
Okay. The most games I ever played for any club was the team we were on together. In a 2-year stint from 04 to 05, I played 223 games. 10-year MLB career for 7 different clubs from Massachusetts. I was never considered a year-to-year starter, but the most games I played for any club was with the team we were on together from 2004 to 2005, where I played 223 games.
Uh, oh my God. On the World Series team. Oh, four. It's not Billy Miller. No.
Not Bill Miller. In the iconic bloody sock game, I hit a home run that had to be ruled a home run by
Oh, come
officials
on.
after a fan caught the ball.
Mark Belmore.
Mark Bauer.
Damn.
Wearing Tom Brady's iconic 12, I was also part of the curse-breaking 2004 Red Sox.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mark,
from Boston.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. That's why I included it, and then didn't read it at first because I was like, maybe that's so effing obvious.
No.
They were playing
All
in
right,
Boston.
and I always do this after each one. Phenomenal teammate, literally the anti-Kurt Schilling. For every 100 words I spoke, he spoke one. Never said, just a phenomenal, way more undervalued and underrated in the '04 postseason than he should have been. He was a monstrous force in that postseason. He homered in a couple straight games, like remember
6 and 7 in the ALCS
and game one of the World Series.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just saw that when I was looking up statistics. That it was 6.
He hit the ball. I don't know if you remember down the line, hit the foul pole. And remember the Wakefield was like the 11-10 game one.
Yep.
In Boston.
Electric.
Yeah, and just a great guy. I remember seeing him at the 20 year, I think, and he said more to me in 42 seconds than he did the entire time we played. Just a quiet guy, great guy, and like I said, way underrated for that 04 team. All right, we're actually going to probably we're going to be taping Sunday's episode ahead of time because I'm going to be busy running around and we don't want to miss it. So we will catch you guys on the flip side.
See you soon.